Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. I'm with Peter Del Vecchio, and he's a paisan of mine because we went to Rutgers. We are Rutgers, and our history is long and wonderful and valuable and precious because we met years ago. I wasn't actually, we were kind of almost on campus at the same time. Not quite. Peter's a New Brunswick guy, and I'm a Newark guy. But we've had this great bond, and Peter with his music and the spirituality. We're going to talk about that. But I'm rushing into this because we've been just BSing here for the last hour. And we've been BSing for a ton over the years. And all of a sudden, Peter had this great light bulb that went off. Calvin, are you taping this? I said, no. He said, tape it. So we're going to tape this. We're here for a specific reason, uh, um, and that is New Jersey School of Conservation, observing nature, inward and outward. There's an amazing event coming up. Pete's going to talk all about it. Saturday, September 13th, or Sunday, September 14th. It's their fourth year. Peter's going to talk all about this. It's an event up in Sussex County. Uh, uh, Getting back to nature, just great stuff. But we were just talking about spirituality. Peter, say hello.
Hi there. How's
Calvin,
everybody doing today? I'm glad to be here. It's good to see you, Calvin. Yay.
yeah, we had gotten together formally like a year ago, and Peter has this amazing thing that he does on Tuesday nights called The Gathering. I started to do it, and I get sidetracked, and it's wonderful to be in tune with yourself, the spirit. And Peter just said something really interesting to me, and you can continue talking about that. I'm a pretty spiritual person. Everybody knows I wrote a book, which I'll show you. There's a tortoise in my hair, journey to spirit, to talk about the spirituality of my life, and I do all these different things to try to explore the world because there's so much we don't know. And Peter is so on top of this stuff, and we'll get later on to some of the experiences that Peter had early on in his life, as a yoga, and stuff. And so, what should we talk about first?
Well, why don't we start with what you just mentioned about spirit?
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly. I always thought, I've had these external spirits in my life, and Peter illuminated me and saying, you have external, but you also have internal. And
yeah, so a lot of people think, oh, I, the I is the body. Oh, and I have a spirit too, and I have a mind, I have a spirit. But that's actually a little mistaken. The truth of the matter is that we are spirit energies. We are spirits. We are non-physical spirits. And in order to live in this three-dimensional world that we inhabit, we were given a vehicle to navigate the world, just like we get in our car and we drive around, but we don't think, oh, I'm a Ford Taurus. We don't think that, but yet we think, oh, I'm a body. Oh, I'm Italian. Oh, I'm black. Oh, I'm white. Or I'm his. No, 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 no. We're spirits, and we've been given these different models of vehicles. So some people could be a Volkswagen, some people could be a Lamborghini, a Ford, a Volkswagen. What doesn't matter. That's not who they are. It's just what they're driving. So we are the drivers inside. We live about here. We live right behind what the yogis call the third eye, the trikuti, and we somewhere around the pineal gland. And if you think about where you are in your body right now, whoever's listening to this, you're not in your feet. You can close your eyes if you want to and go with me. You're not in your feet. You're not in your butt. You're not in your tummy. You're not in your hands. You're somewhere in your head. If you close your eyes and think about, okay, where am I in my body? You're actually right here inside a little bit between the third eye. The reason the yogis call it the third eye is because it's the eye of knowledge. It looks within. And so we are a spirit that has a body. We're not a body that has a spirit. That's backwards. Anyway, that's what we were talking about before I had that lightning bolt of, hey, you should be recording this because it's good stuff and it's the truth, and it's very simple to understand. And a lot of people might find it unusual because we've been inculcated, not because people did it on purpose, but because when we were babies, we're born into a family. The family doesn't know this stuff, and so we just become whatever, whether we're an Aborigine or an Italian guy from New Jersey or whatever, we get inculcated into the culture that we are, and we don't think about who we are, what we are, why we're here, and what the here is. And that's my job. My job is to try to help people remember. I have no dogma. I have no axe to grind. I have nothing to prove to anybody, but everything is based in love and forgiveness. And if you and you have to work on the ego, clearing away the ego. But who are you? What are you? That's different than who, right? What are you? Why are you here? Why and what is the here? Do you ever think about what is life? A lot of people do think about that, but because nobody gives them the answers and the senses take away the mind and engage in all sorts of sensual stuff. And I don't mean sexual stuff necessarily, but all the senses, the sight, the smell, the taste, yum, 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 food. My belly is big enough to prove that's a problem with a lot of people, and including me. But we have to constantly be feeding our awareness. And what I do is I help teach people how to go within so that they build a better relationship with their own true self, which is the mind that lives within, that functions by using the brain as the computer. But don't forget, without the electricity, the computer is just a piece of crap. It's just nothing. Without the
Like
electricity,
that.
the computer is nothing. So
Uh,
without the spirit, the mind is just molecules. I mean, not the mind, the brain. The brain is just a molecular organ that lives in the head, just like the nose and the fingers and the tongue and all that stuff. It's just molecules. But inside is who we are, and we're driving this vehicle. And if I hold up my finger here, when I decide to will my body, only then will my finger bend because I've told it to bend. I am using my spirit, which is me, to use my body to bend fingers at my will, at my control. And part of my job, my most important job in this lifetime, is to help people remember who they are and what they're not, who they're not, what they're not, and have them. I show people, I guide people in self inquiry internalized because within is where the truth lies, not all this outside stuff that entices and attracts the senses outwardly. That draws us away from who we are. And it's very, very easy to get caught in the mumble jumble of, I call it the gerbil wheel of life. And when you're on the gerbil wheel of life, man, that's all you got time for because you're driving on those New Jersey highways, blah, 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 blah. Well, same thing. We all have these little highways in our mind. But what my gift is, my ability is to help people get off the highway and go see like the view behind me. That's really what's inside of us. This type of a view is
yeah.
what's in here, not trees and mountains, but I mean the peacefulness and the permanence.
Wow. Well, it is a wow. And let me ask you a question. Um, is age a function of wanting to know what I am and who I am and why I'm here? As we get older, do we get more introspective and wanting to learn these things? Because I find as I've gotten older and all this spiritual stuff, all this stuff, I can't get enough of it.
Well, the answer coming to me, and by the way, I am a channel and I receive messages 24/7. I'm always receiving, even if it's like, what do I want to have for dinner? I'll just say, what does my body want? And the body through the spirit says, oh, I want scrambled eggs for dinner tonight, whatever. So the answer to your question that I can offer you is, it's like, are we a crocus or are we a chrysanthemum? Do we bloom in the spring of our life or do we bloom in the fall of our life? And it really doesn't matter. There's no ought to be, there's no such thing as should.
Okay.
If you remember, if you could write down the word should and remember to ask me about the word should in a little while, I have a bunch to say about that little word. Um, Should. It's a four-letter word masquerading as a six-letter word. Anyway, we'll deal with that in a couple of minutes. Yeah, so there's no template. There's no template. I happen to have had my life changed through a lightning strike that we talked about last time, where lightning should have killed me, but only because I wasn't there. miraculously one night out of an entire summer, I didn't get killed. That changed my life, and everything else since then has been with that new trajectory. So I became a spiritual seeker at the age of 18. Some people, because they're on that gerbil wheel and because the senses are distracting them from looking inside, because, oh, this tastes good, or oh, I'm going to watch that movie, or oh, I like this music, or blah, blah, whatever. Um, that takes them away from who they really are. And they forget. People forget. Nothing bad. There's no guilt. There should be no guilt about it. But people forget who they really are because they're caught up in this of the external physical world. And think of all the things, all the stimulation. And then we have to deal with stuff that happens from within us, like, oh, we get COVID, and then so the thing, just when we think we're on the surfboard and riding that big wave of life, boom, a dolphin runs into us, which happens to be COVID or whatever it happens to be. We have prostate cancer. I had to deal with that about 6 years ago. And so these things, both external and internal, throw us off. The goal is equanimity of mind. If we can achieve equanimity of mind, then we're like a crystal clear lake at night when the heaviness of the damper air has settled on the lake and there's no waves. It perfectly reflects everything in the sky and the other shore. But when we throw a rock into it, then it distorts. And that's what happens with most people, that the rock that distorts are the senses, and the senses attract us, take us outward, and we lose that equanimity. What my purpose is in this life is to help people regain that equanimity that they had when they were born, but they've been drawn away from. No guilt, no blame, no fear. Guilt, blame, fear, all the trio needs to be go boom bye, because those things stand in our way of true self-realization, realizing who we really are as the self within this vehicle, this physical vehicle. So you're discovering more about your spirituality later in life. It doesn't matter. Each flower brings its own beauty to the
Okay.
world. So
Okay.
that's my answer.
All right. Well, actually, it's common sense.
Yeah.
Actually, to think about, I asked you that question because, but I know in history, lots of thinkers as they approach mortality, start thinking about those kind of things. It's something that necessarily you don't really focus on as a 20 or 30 or 40-year old. And as I've been jumping these decades to my last ascension, I call it an ascension. It sounds like, it's coming from Catholic teachings. I've ascended. Uh,
Hmm.
I ascended to octogenarian status on Saturday. And and I began to make some life decisions, based on that and thinking. It's a whole different way of thinking because you're dealing now with mortality. And of course, I reach out to spirits, all the time, and they're all over me, and it's a wonderful thing to have a spiritual component. Anyway, take a deep breath. I want to completely go back, and we're going to come back to some of this stuff because we should. This-
Should.
We should. I like the way I worded that. So you're,
Very
you're a good teacher, Peter.
well, thank
But
you.
let's talk about the event that's coming up on September 13th and 14th, up in Sussex County. How about a little bit of a history of New Jersey School of Conservation? Because lots of us don't know what that is
Yeah,
and how they're sponsoring this wonderful event,
thank you.
Get back to nature.
Well, the New Jersey School of Conservation, I believe, is about 80. They're in their high 70, maybe let's say probably around 77 or 78 years it's been in existence. And it's a approximately 400-acre um, campus, I call it, inside of Stokes Forest, off of Route 206, north of Newton, New Jersey, in near the town of Branchville. And it's the second largest outdoor education center in the world, the
Wow.
largest being in Osaka, Japan.
Wow.
And for many years, it was just its own entity. It's on land. It technically belongs to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, but they've also for many years now have how can I say it, allowed other entities to be stewards. And so for a long time, Montclair University was the steward. And then about 6 years ago or so, they decided they didn't want to. I think it might have been right at the beginning of COVID. They didn't want to do that anymore, so they just decided to stop. And so it was kind of abrupt, truth be told. Uh, some people have a little more to say about that than that, but I'll just say it was a little abrupt. And the abruptness, because there was no time or organization at the time to take over, the school actually shuttered for, that's with two T's, not two D's. It shuttered for about 2 years or so. And then thank goodness, an organization that had been formed prior to that, called the Friends of the New Jersey School of Conservation, had been formed, and they got together. A lot of these are alumni from the old Camp Wapelani, that was the summer camp of the New Jersey School of Conservation. And the woman that is now the new executive director, Kerry Kirk Flew, that's last name is spelled Pflugh, in case anybody wants to look her up. She is now the executive director, and it's been in rebuilding now for the past 5 years or so. And she actually happens to be the daughter of a wonderful man, Dr. John J. Kirk, who was the executive director for about 36 years, up until he got a little bit, he retired. Then he did pass away maybe about 8 or 9 years ago. So she's very valiantly keeping up the fight. They are always, what they do primarily is they are the school of conservation, and owned by the state of New Jersey, run by the Friends of the New Jersey School of Conservation. And they have thousands upon thousands of school children from different school districts across the state and from other states as well come there for 2, 3, 4, 5 days at a time to learn about the natural world, to learn about how things work in the forest, to do field studies, to learn more about themselves through exploration and hiking and camping and campfires and s'mores and all that, but also um, during the day, they study in the outdoors. So this is an outdoor school for the teaching of outdoor education and how the natural world works. And they have, in addition to school programs, they also run primarily on weekends programs for the public. They might have a Saturday where they do archery all day, and you sign up for that and you go. And the fees they charge are somewhat nominal. The program I'm running, which is called Observing Nature Inward and Outward, which I'll talk about in a few moments. That's $99 for the whole day, from 9:30 in the morning to 5:30 at night. And you will come away with the capacity to change your life after one day. Capacity. That doesn't mean you're going to change your life, but you have the tools that you'll be taught in that one day about that. So the New Jersey School of Conservation is a multifaceted organization. It's a nonprofit organization. Uh, Fortunately or unfortunately, they are funded by the New Jersey state government. This year they had a big scare because the state was going to cut their funding significantly owing to budget concerns, and they were able to negotiate to get that put back to a somewhat reasonable amount, but still considerably less than what they received the previous year. So one of the challenges that I like to talk about when I'm talking about the New Jersey School of Conservation is there we're trying to figure out a way that we can become, I don't want to say independent, but I think we need to have a foundational support, that we're not going to always be, that the school, I say we, as part of the school, we're not going to be buffeted by the winds of social or politics, or, and have to risk the programs that serve so many of our citizens, and could serve many, many more through more awareness, such as this interview will bring more awareness to people just about the New Jersey School of Conservation, because you and I are friends and we're talking about the program that I'm going to teach there. But I'm also a very strong friend of the New Jersey School of Conservation myself.
Okay. Wow. So this event, you can come to either session, Saturday.
Right. It's a 1 day program. It'll run Saturday, September 13th from 9:30 to 5:30, and Sunday, September 14th. Same thing, 9:30 to 5:30. People are able to sign up for both days. And quite frankly, if I could say so, I would suggest that that's even stronger, but there's no overnight facilities.
Oh,
So it would have to be probably someone that lives local. We did run it a couple, this is its fourth year.
uh-huh.
We did run it at least, I think two of the first 2 years we ran it as an overnight, and that was a lot deeper. But we also felt that we could probably have more people attend if it didn't have the requirement for being overnight, you know. So we're dividing it up into two separate days.
Okay.
And it's called Observing Nature Inward and Outward. The idea is that through the application of different yogic techniques of internalized focus and what's called pranayama, prana meaning energy, yama meaning control, meaning what's the most energy that we absorb during the day is not food, it's oxygen, it's the air that we breathe. And so prana is energy, which is the air, and how we control it coming into our bodies, how we retain it for the most maximum benefit from each breath, and how we exhale it. That's taught to people extremely simple. And I do a very deep guided internal yogic deep relaxation, focusing on the different aspects of the body parts that are inside of us. And the combination of these two things alters people's consciousness without any drugs. It alters people's consciousness to the point that they become way more aware, way more sensitized to themselves and their surroundings. And then this doesn't happen all the time, but at least the very first time that we do this experience at the program, we then go silently into the forest while maintaining that consciousness expanding energy that we just had. And then we go into the forest. And if you've ever been in the forest, some people haven't, but if you've ever been in a forest, it is extremely powerful energy, extremely vibrant energy that feeds us, makes our spirit feel more powerful and more to the fore of who we are, as opposed to just some accessory that we talk about having. We become more focused. And so we've explored our inward nature, exploring nature inward. And then we take that newfound deep sense of altered consciousness and peace, and we go outward. We explore nature outward into the world of nature. I have never tried this. Let's say if we did this in a building and then explored New York City, that might be interesting, but it's a little overpowering, you know, that huge city energy, you know. So we do it in the forest. And then we talk about the experience. We talk about the awareness of consciousness. We talk about how that affects our view of who we are, what we are, why we're here, and what is the here? What is this world? What is this three-dimensional molecular universe? It is the whole universe, but this planet is a three-dimensional planet that our vehicles, meaning our bodies, were specifically evolved to live on. Created and evolved, and there's lots of different talk about how they evolved, but nonetheless, here we are. And you know, people talk about wanting to go to the moon. Oh, we can't go to the moon. Unless we bring stuff to wear all the time and live in bubbles because there's no atmosphere. So our physical vehicles were not created or designed to live on other planets. They're specifically designed to live here. That doesn't mean we shouldn't explore, but
Right.
you know, we also don't live under the ocean for the same reason.
Correct. Hostile environments.
Yeah. So this program at the New Jersey School of Conservation, $99 for the whole day, which is crazy. I mean, who wouldn't spend $100 to maybe learn about yourself deeply, truly for the first time and have the ability to change your life? Boom. From that day on, the techniques that I will teach people that day are so simple, but they are so powerful. And it doesn't cost a ton of money. You don't have to take lessons forever. You know, the people can plug in, and people do plug in on my Tuesday night gathering on Zoom. Um, and that kind of, you know, helps us keep fresh with each other. But the experience is meant to actually metamorphosize our consciousness, to metamorphosize like we don't want to spend our life as tadpoles when we're really meant to be frogs, or we don't want to spend our life as caterpillars, maybe that's a better one, than we could be as butterflies, you know. And so what I offer to people is how to do it, how to do it, how to make those changes, but extremely simple. And you don't have to pay $1,000 million.
Yeah.
And my Tuesday night thing, the gathering, I don't even charge money for that. It's completely free. And I set aside 7 o'clock to 8:30 every Tuesday for the gathering on Zoom, just like you and I are doing Zoom now, except I have people there and we do the deep relaxation. We'll do a reading. By the way, I've also written a book called The Art of Being Human, and it's in the process of being put on Audible and on-demand printing at Amazon, etc. And also, what's the one when you, oh, Audible's the one when you, it's speaking, books on tape.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Audible.
So that's about that. That's really what's going on with that program at the School of Conservation, um, Saturday the 13th and or Saturday the 14th, Sunday the 14th of September.
Listening to you and absorbing you, going into nature. We have a tree.
Ah,
Uh, uh,
I remember her.
we have a. Did I show you that tree when you were here?
Yeah, yeah, right outside your front door
That's right.
to the
And
right.
often I walk out and I take the leaves and I hold them in my hand and I try to communicate. And
Yeah,
I'm not crazy, but I have this great feeling
I've
for
done it.
this tree,
The tree's just as alive as you are.
Yeah, and I love trees and it's funny we had two little evergreens that were not thriving and doing well, and my wife said just pull them out and throw them out in the garbage. I can't do that.
Me too. I can't do
I
that either.
can't do that. I
Me
don't
neither.
want
I can't do that either. I can't just throw them.
funny.
Even when a piece of my jade plant breaks off and it's like a little thing with a, I have to put it in water. I'm not just going to throw it in the garbage because it's a living thing still.
It's a living thing. I can't do that. So I said to my wife, we got to call a real gardener and see if they could replant it like over there.
Yeah.
So it was 6 or 7 or 8 years ago. And these trees, they're not candidates for the Rockefeller Christmas tree, but they're up there.
They're living and
Oh yeah,
they
and
know
prospering.
that you saved their lives.
Yeah.
So you might want to talk to those trees a little bit next time. Or here's another thing, or so you said you go to this one tree which I've met and you hold her leaves. You could also go and just place your hand on the trunk and close your eyes and concentrate on the point between the eyebrows and communicate by touching the trunk. And if you really want to be a tree hugger, you can hug the tree with your body up against the tree. And there's a reason why people do that.
I'll do it.
People that don't know make fun. Go, you're a tree hugger. Well, that's just, ignorance. I don't hate the people that I don't hate anybody, but I don't dislike the people that say that. But they say that because they're ignorant, that they don't know. But there's a reason why some people have hugged trees because they're sharing the life energy between them. And there is a level of communication that is possible.
Wow. I'm gonna hug the tree. I'll let you
Yeah.
know.
Oh,
Oh, I
I,
will.
I look forward to hearing about that because you are going to have an experience.
Yep.
Just be open and give it about at least 5 or 10 minutes, and you might wind up being there longer. But I used to work in the Fairview Lake YMCA camps in northern New Jersey. I was the resident nature director, and I ran all sorts of nature awareness courses for kids back then. And one of them had to do with awareness of tree communication. Yeah, and the kids love it because they're more open. They're not jaded and worn out by the world like we are, being older.
It stops it. It actually stops them to focus
Yeah.
energy into that because we're all so busy in our crazy lives. We don't have time to touch a leaf.
That's why monks are monks, because they leave the busyness, the gerbil wheel of the world, and they put it aside for the everybody thinks, oh, to be a monk, you have to be either, strict or celibate or it's to be in a guided situation, but in a peaceful situation where you're not worried about money, you're not worried about earning a living, you're worried about being, what are you worried about? You're not worried about anything. You're going within. The whole idea is to go within because that's where knowledge is. But in the outside, in the regular societal world, we are drawn without. And when we go without, it's like eating. How are you going to feel if all you ate all day was candy? You're going to feel sick to your stomach and you want some protein, right? People have done that, or they have carbs all day, too busy to eat. So I'll have a roll with butter, and then we'll have, whatever later on, and snacks and licorice or whatever. And then before you know it, people get sick. This is what the spirit needs is spiritual protein by going within and getting rid of that bad diet of only existing in the outside exterior world.
Wow. Wow. Such great stuff that comes from you. We could just sit here. Yeah, I could look out on the setting sun there, or is it a rising sun? I don't even know.
That's a setting sun. That's my backyard, by the way. That's a
I know
photograph.
it is. I know it
Yeah.
is, and I love it.
I live in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, and I pinch myself every day every single day. And
Hey,
I'm so grateful that I live in a
come from
peaceful
Hudson County to go to that, right?
Hudson County. Now, my little town that I grew up in, West New York, New Jersey, right by the Lincoln Tunnel, right? The Lincoln Tunnel is in Weehawken. And then the very next town up is West New York, but we pronounce it West New York. People that don't know have called it West New York, but we say West New York, and that's the Jersey way. And it's right across from New York City. It's 1.3 square miles,
Wow.
over 52,000 people.
Wow. Is it the most densely populated, or is that Union
The
City?
most densely populated town in New Jersey,
Wow.
which is the most densely
Densely
populated state.
populated state.
And here in the county I live in the county, the whole county has 35,000 people. The whole county.
Wow.
And there's more cows here than people.
Wow.
It's a big farming community.
Wow.
But
Isn't
there's
that?
also two nationally recognized universities. In Lexington, Virginia, there's the Virginia Military Institute,
Yeah.
also known as the West Point of the South. They call it VMI,
You near
Virginia.
Virginia Tech too?
What's that?
Are you near Virginia Tech?
Virginia Tech's about an hour and a half away, down Route 81. And then the second nationally recognized university in Lexington, Virginia, is Washington and Lee University, which is perennially on the U.S. News and World Report top 25 liberal arts colleges in the nation. So we have these two, and guess what? One is ultra liberal, and one is ultra conservative,
That's
and
funny.
and and their campuses abut. Their campuses abut like this. So you're walking along on the WNL, we call it W and L here. We say WNL, Washington and Lee. You can walk from WNL and boom, and then one more step and you're in VMI. It's like going from Union City to Jersey City. All of a sudden, you just cross the street and there you
Yeah.
are.
So
Yeah.
you can actually go from 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 liberal to conservative by taking one step.
Yes. Maybe not philosophically, but physically, you're in
Physically.
a whole different world.
Physically.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they have, yeah. So it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. And every school has its tradition. You know, by the way, here's an interesting Rutgers fact. Dun, dun, dun. You may or may not know this. Rutgers and VMI were the last two publicly funded all-male universities, colleges in the nation.
Well, I know Rutgers went co-ed in 73.
Yes, they did. The fall, that was my, no, 72. It was the fall of
72.
72. My
Okay.
senior year, they allowed 400 women into Rutgers College, and there were already 7,000 men. But there was also Douglas across town. But VMI didn't go co-ed until into the 80s. And guess what? Here's a shocker. Washington and Lee University, which is private, they didn't go co-ed until the 80s also, which I found that shocking since they're more liberal. But that's the way it is.
Wow.
It's
Yeah, that's
amazing.
right. You were at Rutgers and there were no women on campus. I can't believe that. Now I was at Newark, and
Yeah.
Newark was co-ed for a long, long, long
Right.
time.
Well, in the old days, before now, which just everything is just Rutgers University. Back then, each geographic location, Rutgers Newark, you had Rutgers South Jersey. I forget what it was called. It was another name. Then you had Rutgers New Brunswick. Then you had Cook College, which was the ag school. Then you had the School of Law in Newark. Blah blah blah. Well, so Douglas College was the all women's college, and that was the what I would call the Ivy League tradition, because Rutgers at some point was considered quasi Ivy League, and all of the Ivy League colleges were all male, and then they all had sister schools which were female, and Rutgers had the same brother-sister relationship with Douglas College. Now it's not called Douglas College anymore. I believe it's called Douglas Center for Women's Studies or something like that. But now they started what's called the federated system years ago, which transitioned into now it's just one big university,
Right.
etc. So,
Right. Yeah,
but I
Rutgers.
digress.
No, that's all right. Yeah, in the 60s, Rutgers um, got the reputation. Rutgers was called the Berkeley of the East. A lot of people don't know that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, a lot of people don't know that. Rutgers was considered the Berkeley of the East because Berkeley was gave birth to the free speech movement, and Rutgers had a professor from New Brunswick.
Huh.
I don't know if his name was Genovese or not. By the way, it could be maybe it's Eugene Genovese. He was a little outspoken and very radicalized, but I believe he was a proponent of the free speech. But Berkeley led it, and Rutgers was Rutgers was a center for intelligentsia on the East Coast back then in the 60s. So be it. Um, as we move on, because you and I could do this for hours, but I like to just focus a little bit on your music and the stuff you're doing now with the spiritual music. I know we met, I think we originally met at an event with Tim Smith um, at Rutgers, and I don't know if somebody was getting. I think the was it the pep band or the march or something? Somebody was being honored for 100 years. What
It was
was it?
the Rutgers University Marching Band 100th year anniversary in 20, I think it was 2015, or could have been 2010. I think the Rutgers band started in 1915. So I think it was 10 years ago that we met
Okay,
at
okay,
that event out at on the Piscataway campus,
yeah, yeah,
the brand new beautiful alumni building, I think it
yeah,
was.
yeah.
And that's when we first met each other. And Scott Whitener, who was my mentor and still is a good friend of mine, when I was a student at Rutgers, he was the Rutgers University uh, marching and concert band wind ensemble director for many years, and he trained a lot of us that went into music education as teachers
Mhm.
throughout the state. So his impact is still being felt statewide, and he was the keynote speaker at that event.
Okay, okay. I listen. That's when we first met, and I know I saw you conduct at Nicholas.
Right.
You conducted, and now you're composing some spiritual stuff. So why don't we talk about that?
Okay. Well, I started composing when I was a little kid. In like third grade, I still have the paper. My mom saved all these, the way moms save stuff, right? So I got a bunch of these things, and she saved like poems that I wrote when I was like in third grade, and I remember writing these things, and I remember like being in third grade or second grade, whatever it was, and the teacher would say, "Okay, it's time to write a Mother's Day poem. That's going to be your part of your present." We always bought these little begonias for like 15 cents. The school provided that we had a present to give our mother because we're little kids and we couldn't go shopping probably without our mother, because most of the dads worked. It was traditional back then, that old-fashioned traditional. And so the school provided these presents for 15 cents. And then on Mother's Day, we'd bring them home from school that Friday. We'd hide them until Sunday and then give them to our mothers. And it was great. But she said, let's write a poem for Mother's Day. So I don't remember the poem, but I have it. And looking back on it, I mean, I was amazed that I wrote this poem. And I remember writing it. It just came. I remember when I was actually writing this poem in third grade and or second grade, it might have been. And I remember saying, wow, this is easy. What a bunch of fun. And then I raised my hand and I was done. And the teacher's like, how could you be done? She said, let me see what you wrote. And she was like, holy crap. And it was like a beautiful poem. And so that was my first experience with channeling, but I didn't know what I was a kid. I just figured, okay, I'll write this poem. So I have this ability that has been described by psychics as if you imagine a sink full of water, and that water is information. And like I'm underneath the sink, and when the stopper is pulled out, boom, it all downloads into me. So that's kind of what I do. That's kind of what my gift is. Like I'm a good receiver. Uh, so what I found out, I started writing music even in college. I still didn't know about this. And as I was becoming more of an adult man, I started writing what I call songs of the heart. I didn't call them songs of the heart back then because I was just starting. But I remember the first song I wrote was called Very Easily. And part of the lyrics is love does not belong to anyone. It is a gift from us to us. It can be easily lost, easily wasted, very easily, very, very easily. And the poem goes on. And then I set it to music. Love does not belong to anyone. It is a gift from us to us. It can be easily lost, easily wasted, very easily, very, very easily. So it's a very lilting kind of a song. And it talks about living, goes on to talk about living life, being kind and gentle to others. And that just came through me. But being a composer, I still didn't have the awareness that I was channeling. But later on, I learned how to channel from a spiritual guide, a spiritual actual teacher, gave me some of the basics, and I started becoming a channel. And it's then that because I was still writing music, and then I realized, holy crap, I'm going into the same exact receiving mode, channeling words from spirit that I use when I'm channeling music and lyrics, which lyrics are just words, right, in a form of a poem. And so I'm being told right now by spirit that I need to share something with you. So I'm going to go ahead and just do that, okay? In
Sure.
1985, I went to the Soviet Union. It was still the Soviet Union. And I went on a peace mission to the Soviet Union in 1985 with an American group called Citizens for Planetary Peace. And about 85 of us, about 100 of us, went and we met with other representatives from what was called the Soviet Peace Committee. And they set up meetings. All of us that went on this trip were yogis of some form or another, spiritual practitioners. But because the Soviet Union had a no religion setup framework, we went as our alter egos. So I went as a teacher of music, a music teacher, and a trumpet player. And other people went. And if you remember the movie Patch Adams about this clown that was he was on the trip with us. He was actually on the trip. I still
Patch
have my,
Adams?
yeah, I still have my clown nose that he gave me. He
Wow.
yeah, we were on the trip. There were 85. Shelley Fabre was on the trip. Gretchen
Wow.
Christopher, who sang "Come Softly to Me" in the 60s.
Wow.
Dennis Weaver from Gunsmoke,
Yeah,
etc.
sure.
He was,
Wow.
and Swami Satchidananda, who was a great yoga teacher. Anyway, so I come back from this not vacation, this 2 week really intense experience, and I find that my piano student Joshua Schoenfeld had been hit by a car while walking to school, and he wound up dying like 2 days after I got home. When I got home, he was in a coma, and then he actually passed away. And so everybody, 14 years old, like, typical nicest kid in the universe, right? So after a couple of days, I mean, everybody's in shock, but his mom comes to me and says, "Would you please play one of your songs?" She meant one of my songs of the heart, not a symphony, but a song of the heart, that thing, at his memorial service on Saturday. And I'm like, of course, because he said, because he loved your music so much. So I said, of course. So I went and looked through all my songs I had written at that point in time, which was about 50 at that point in time, and nothing was appropriate for that need. So I went into meditation and I spoke with my spirit guides. And I said, hey, I need something for this mom, for this family, because this kid is great. And they responded right away. I could not, it's not, channeling is not where I actually hear a voice like you're hearing my voice now, but it's like a thought that I didn't initiate. So it shows up in my brain as a specific thought. And so they responded to me. They said, "Where's your pencil?" That's what first thing they said was, "Where's your pencil?" And I'm like, "Bah." So I went and got my pencil and I got my pad. I still have the pad, by the way. I still have the original pad. And so they dictated to me the following lyrics that I'm going to share with you. And then later that night, I sat and they helped me write the music. And this was maybe Wednesday, Thursday. And then I had to perform it at the memorial service on Saturday. So this is something that was just given to me. I had to practice it on the piano and I had to sing it. So I'm going to just recite the words. And the reason I'm reciting these words is just to demonstrate the kind of stuff that I receive. I did not create these words, these lyrics I'm about to share with you. I received them. And my only ego part in producing this was I didn't screw it up. I didn't interfere. I let them say to me whatever they wanted to say. And the lyrics I'm about to recite to you, I wrote them in 9 minutes flat. They were done. As fast as it's not going to take me 9 minutes to say them, but 9 minutes and it was done. And when I set them to music, I maybe only had to change one or two syllables just to make things fit. When I receive messages from spirit, I don't like to change them because who am I to change? Who am I to change? If I'm the vessel, that doesn't make me the message. I'm just a vessel. And so, what right does the vessel have to turn milk sour or to try to make milk better? Milk is milk. And if the vessel contains milk, good enough, right? So here's what they gave me. And I wound up calling this song For Joshua. And the beauty of this is, I'll tell you ahead of time, is that was 1985. This is now 40 years later. And I have shared the lyrics and music of this song with many other families who have also lost dear ones. And for every one of them, I changed the title. So if let's say if you had passed away and I was going to share this song with your family, the title would then become For Calvin. Okay, so this started out as For Joshua. I'm going to close my eyes when I recite this because it helps me remember things better. Okay, here it goes. We come to earth to learn to be more of what we truly are. The lessons we face each day provide us with a view of ourselves. To live with good intent and kindness in our heart, for this we strive ever onward. Life itself becomes an art. Just as the master's brushstrokes reveal the masterpiece within his mind, so also the living of a life most pure and kind reveals the beauty of a happy soul. And life cannot be measured in days and months and years, for time is man's illusion in which he plants his fears. When one we love is taken, we are made to look within, and in that hour of grief and sadness, it's a good time to begin. O sons and daughters of the earth, do not dismay. It holds no worth. Raise up your head, unfold your heart, and make the living of your life your art. For death is an illusion, although it seems so real. Trust your inner vision and what your heart reveals. Your friend is not forsaken, nor has he ceased to be. He has come home from whence he was. Rewarded, he lives free. Carry him within your heart and live your life with kindness. Love your fellow man, forgive him for his blindness. For life is a gift freely given from above. It holds one hidden secret, to live your life in love. And this your friend has done, and so you should be glad. He lived his life with kindness and gave it all he had. The best gift you could give to your departed brother would be to live your lives with love for one another.
I was writing some stuff down, but I'll be able to listen to this. Wow, that's a wow.
That's a wow, man. And I didn't write that. I just received it.
Wow.
So it's the spirit using me as the channel, not only of the words, but also the music, which is very evocative, to communicate to the people mourning the loss of this 14-year-old boy and giving them hope, giving them happiness that he isn't, quote, dead. Yes, his body is dead. The vehicle that he was driving is dead.
Right.
He went back from whence he was. He has returned home from whence he was. Wow. I mean,
And
that says it all right there, huh?
yeah, it sure does. Wow. It's a couple of things. You talk about channeling. I don't know in our past chats, but 15, 18 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it was, I found this picture.
Mm. Hmm.
It's Albert Einstein.
Yeah.
I found that picture and somewhere. It's 18 years old. I copied it, and at some point, 18 years ago, whatever, I began to channel as best I could, Mr. Einstein.
Mm.
And just like I'm talking to you now, in very Rutgers language, very basic New Jersey language, I said, I'm not here for you to teach me relatively because I don't care. This is the way I was talking to Albert Einstein.
You're right.
Care. I don't care. I don't, first of all, I don't know how you ever conceived of that in 1900 before Google was around. I don't know how you did that. Nevertheless, but I know you probably have some time. I don't know how many people down here are channeling you, but I am. But if you can send me some energy, particulates of energy and stuff, I want to be a better writer.
Wow.
And
Good for you.
I did that for a while, for months. Every few days I would channel. And all I can tell you, Peter, is I went from writing Vichy Water, which I don't even want to look at anymore, to writing Tortoise, and I get all these awards for Tortoise. So nothing changed in me except that, and I became a better writer, or at least something inside me was better. I don't know. Um,
I think I'm getting a message now for you that it's fertilizer. It was like fertilizer for your spirit, metaphorically speaking,
yeah,
because then you began to grow in ability.
yeah. I mean, everything it all changed. So this picture looks at me. It's been looking at me for 18 years. I don't talk to Albert because I'm good where I've become, and it's been a great. It was a help, and it did make a difference. Maybe it was coincidence in time, doubtful.
Yeah.
It was a real thing for me. So, um,
Let me tell you, you asked about my music, right?
yes,
So let me just tie a little bit together if it's okay.
sure.
So I've written in my life now, since starting with that song about uh, Very Easily, I've written at least 75 what I call songs of the heart. And basically, I get the lyrics first given to me, and then I write the music. So, I've been busy on my own gerbil wheel of life for most of my life. And so now that I'm semi-retired I was doing real estate brokerage and all that, I'm not doing that anymore. So I want to get my songs produced. So the after Joshua died, um, after the dust settled, his mom came to me again and said, "Listen, uh, Adam, who's Joshua's 12-year-old brother, would like to take piano lessons with you for a while because he remembers how Joshua used to talk about how much he loved your music and how well you treated him." And so I took on Adam as a pianist. He was really a guitar student with another friend of mine, uh, and he was really a great guitarist. And so I taught him piano for a while. So that's how I got to know him and I got to know the family a little bit better. Okay, then life happened. I had my first baby, yada, yada. It's 1985, 86. And so I only taught him for maybe 6 months or thereabouts. So then life ensued. And so, but we've always kind of like very, very peripherally kind of just stayed in touch like every couple of years, whatever. Okay. Well, when it came time for me now to start to work on, and he became a very, very talented and dare I say, well known slash famous guitar player. And so he is Tim McGraw's lead guitar player, the country singer Tim McGraw. So when you're watching a Tim McGraw concert and there's a guitar solo, that's Adam Schoenfeld,
Yeah.
who was the younger brother of Joshua. And so because now we've evolved to the digital world, I'm like a fish out of water. I'm 72 years old. What do I know about how to produce things digitally? So I figured, well, let me get in touch with Adam because he does this stuff now all the time. It's his job. He's a professional musician. And so I wrote to him saying, "Hey, I want to produce some of my music, and I just want to know what should I do? What are the sequence? Do I have to contact? What do I do? I didn't know what to do. Please tell me step one, step two, whatever, however I put it." So he says to me, "Oh, you're doing some of your music? Wow." He goes, "Why don't you send me a couple? Send me a few. I want to hear them." So I said, "Okay." So I sent him some other performances. Nothing great, nothing super professional, but other public things. Anyway, he says, "Wow, Peter, these are really good. Listen, maybe I can hook you up with some of my friends here in Nashville, and we may be able to help you with this to get these things going." And that's what he has done. I'm specifically working with a pianist right now who's working with me, and the goal is to produce six of my most favorite songs from my first quote album, or whether they're singles or whatever. And so we're working on the rough. Just got one yesterday from him that I heard last night for the first time. It's called "Within You." That's the name of the song. And so we're working out the rough stuff. And then at some point in time, I'm going to go down to Nashville and work with both Adam and Mike, is his name, and start to produce things. So that's just a little current update as to what I'm doing with that stuff. So
Wow.
yeah, it's fun. It's great. I love I've been a music teacher. I have a master's degree in classical trumpet performance. I've performed in Carnegie Hall. I've played in Russia. I've played all over the place in North Jersey. Uh, but it's composing that I have always really had the most deep love for, even though I love it all. And I was a music teacher, anywhere from first grade through university level. I've done it all, and I love it. And I love the kids, and I love sharing music with people. It's like it's like giving people a gift every day. It's like a wonderful feeling, and especially kids are so like these great positive sponges. They just suck it in. And I still have about 400 or 500 of my previous students on my Facebook friends list. that I don't interact with all of them all the time, but many of them I still do. So it's been a great music's been such a blessing in my life, and I've been able to share that blessing with others. So I much want to mention that to you.
No, I'm glad you did. As we wind down, because you and I can go on for hours. It's infinitesimal. No, really, it just is. It's just so many. By the way, my wife's maiden name is Joshua's last name.
Schoenfeld.
That's right.
Oh, wow. How interesting.
Yeah.
Korma. Near, 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 near.
It means beautiful field in German.
Ah, beautiful field.
Shane is beautiful. Field is field. It means beautiful field.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And so I would call this, we've had many of these now, cosmic karmic coincidence. That's what I call these things. Even the fact that you worked with a guy named Del Vecchio for a huge part of your career in the
That's right.
eyeglass industry, one
Correct.
of the most wealthiest guys in the world,
Yeah.
who own a high percentage of all the eyeglass stores. This one guy, last name Del
Mhm.
Vecchio.
Yeah.
That's kind of how many Del Vecchios are there floating around?
Not a lot, not a lot. And with Italian names, the one of the most impactful things of my entire life was getting a name at 8 o'clock in the morning, randomly on Route 35, Del Priori. And that was the name I was going to use for a character in a book I was writing.
Uh-huh.
And then 9 hours later, in an eyeglass store, sitting waiting to see the optometrist, some patient comes in to pick up contact lenses, and it's the same name that I had thought about nine. You never heard that story? Oh,
No.
I actually sent this story into Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul. It's beyond. There's no scientist on earth can tell me it's not coincidence. And 8 o'clock in the morning, driving down Route 35 in Wall Township, and I needed a name for.
Oh, yeah, you did tell me that
Must
story.
have
It was,
told you
it was a
that.
year ago. Yeah, we talked
Yeah,
about
it's one of my favorite stories.
Del Priori. True.
Del Fiore and Del Vecchio, and so all of this is wonderful, precious stuff. And this is a good time. We could go on, but uh, we're going to stop now. Um, and you know what? As these music things come to fruition, let's come back and talk about this stuff.
Okay.
And I
Be- Before we exit,
yes.
I just speak just for a few moments on the word should.
Oh yes, yes.
And could I just say the I think I have the mailing. And if people want interest, if people would like to contact the School of Conservation about attending my program, that you could probably go to what's called njsoc.org. That stands for New Jersey School of Conservation.org.
Yep. And I'm looking here at the sheet. Friends of njsoc.org/events.
That's it. That's it. Friends of njsoc.org
Right.
slash events. And
Yep.
then there's very easy to sign up if people are interested. So I don't want to say that people should do that. Haha, got that lead in, but it would certainly augment a certain aspect of people's lives if they wish to. So let me talk a little bit about the word should. I call it the four-letter word that's actually 6 letters long. And I often advise my clients, I'll call them my clients, to occasionally put themselves on a should fast. What's a should fast? A should fast is you don't think or say the word should for a whole day.
Oh wow.
Don't do it. Don't say should for a whole day. So when we say the word should, we're impacting either ourselves or others with judgment because we're saying, I hereby state that instead of doing what you're doing, I hereby judge that you would be better doing this. So you should do that, even if it's subtle. But who am I to say what you should do? I could say, and yes, neurolinguistically, we program ourselves through how we speak and listen. So when we say should, that has a strong impact. No matter words carry a ton of weight. So when I request that people try the concept, even if it's for 3 hours, put yourself on a should fast and see what happens to how you relate to both yourself and others. Anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about. That when we say should, and I still do it, it's part of a habit, speech habit, but I try to have the consciousness to be aware of the power, the judgmental power that the word should
Yes,
has.
I
How many
should,
times do we say should?
should. Wow.
You
No,
you
I,
should do what I want. You should do what I want. That you should. I hereby say you should do
wow.
this. Or
Yes,
even hurting yourself. Oh, I should do this. What pressure that we put ourselves under
should.
because of
Oh,
the word
wow.
should.
I
Anyway,
should fast. By the way, brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. It's like you get up every day and what new can come into my life? I'm 80 years old. What new, what revolutionary thinking process thing can come into my life? And this just did. Wow. And I'm going to tell you, I'm jumping into another interview in a couple of minutes, but I'm going to make a sign, a big sign, should fast.
hmm
Um,
try it.
you can actually have fun with the word should because sometimes if you say it the wrong way, it might come out another way if you get my drift.
Yeah, the should hits the fan, so to
That's
speak.
right. That you said it. That's what I was thinking, and you nailed it. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stop recording. We're going to do a 2 minute wrap. Uh, I don't know how to thank you enough for being you and our precious friendship over the years that's endured the miles and from the time we first met. And you are just illuminating and quite precious and amazing, truly.
Thank you. And by the way, please give my love to your wife. What's her name again?
Fran.
Fran, because
And
you had me for dinner
that's right.
one night, and it was a lovely experience, and I loved meeting her,
Yeah.
and seeing the two of you together was great. So please
Yeah.
give her my love as well.
Yeah. We're still together after all these years. We hit we hit 48. That's a big number.
Wow, that's a big number.
It's a big number. Back when I was growing up, somebody was married 48 years, ready for the old folks home.
Not us.
No, not us. No, not us. We're quite a generation, Peter. Us.
Yeah.
Yes. So, you're going to come back. I know that, and we'll talk. Thank you so much for being you. I'm just stopping recording. Boom.